All right, guys, in today's video, we're going to be working on a radio. We're actually going to pull one of these radios that you see here out of the vehicle to repair this problem with the buttons being worn. Right? You see here that the 4, the 5, the 6, and the 2 are quite worn. We're going to show you how you can pull the faceplate off the radio to replace those. There's two types of radios that this video is going to apply to, from the mid-90s, like 1995, up to 2002, or whatever I put in the video title and description. One is this type here that has an integrated CD player, and I'll show you in a minute the other type, which has an integrated cassette. Before you pull the radio from the vehicle, if you've got this flashing red light like you see here, that means that the TheftLock is enabled for this type of Delco Electronics radio, and that means if you pull the power, it's going to lock you out. So make sure you know your 4-digit code before you disable the power to the radio. Let me show you what the cassette type looks like. All right, this is the other type of radio that today's video is going to apply to. This particular one really just has a minor bit of damage on the W of the word forward for the cassette button number 6, but this is the one that has the integrated cassette type. So that radio that I showed you earlier with the CD and this type of radio that has the cassette is what today's video is going to apply to. And again, if you've got the flashing red button, remember to find your TheftLock code before you disable the power. So we're going to pull this radio out and bring it on the bench, and then I'll show you how to change these keys out. All right, we've got this radio out on the bench. I didn't show removing this because this radio and the cassette one occur in a number of different GM trucks, vans, and cars. But if you want to see how to get it out of a CK truck, I'll link an older video up here in the upper right that'll show you the removal process from a CK truck. But it's really straightforward. There's a couple of push down clips on either side that you push down simultaneously to remove it. And then after you get it pulled out, you're going to have an RCA connector for the antenna, and then you're going to have a single connector for the harness. You may have something plugged in here if you've got like a remote CD or a CD changer. Both of those are going to be squeeze and pull type plugs. They're really not a difficult thing to get off. All right, so how do we remove the faceplate from this radio? Well, the first thing is flip it over, and there's going to be a couple of screws here, and we're going to remove those with a 3/16 socket. 1 and 2. Now typically it's only these two on the bottom, but be careful when you're removing it. If you see any on the top, then your model may require a screw like this to be removed if it occurs on the top. The next thing you're going to need are several of these guitar pick-like tools. And what we're going to do with those is we're going to slip them under. So if I can get you guys a little closer. We're going to slip them under these little tabs, just like you see here, right? And so if you've got it in the right spot, you'll see blue, or whatever tool you're using, color, guitar pick, because you've pushed this clip up and out of the metal. So we're going to do that there. And then we're going to do the same thing on the bottom. Now you may want to put some tape on these because they do have a tendency to go flying if they pop off because they're going to be under pressure. There's that one. And there's that one. All right, so at this point, the top and the bottom are free. So now what we're going to do is we're going to come over and free the sides. So we're just going to pry against these same type of clips until we can, actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take a long flat type tool instead. We can't fit the guitar pick in here, so we're kind of limited on what tools we can use. There we go, that one's off. That one's off. All right, then we'll flip it around, do the same thing on the other side. And actually, before I remove that, I forgot one important step. We're going to pull this knob off. Sorry about that, guys. I forgot that step there. I'm going to pull that knob off for the power and volume. And then we're going to pull off this knob. And we're going to remove this small retaining nut. That nut is going to prevent us from getting the faceplate off. I'm just going to use a small adjustable wrench here. There's that guy. And then there's a washer. Flex washer. And then the other one that we want to try to get off before we go too far. I may have went too far. There he is. We got this guy pulled off too. For the tuning knob. Oh, he's stuck on there. All right, we might just leave him alone. I think maybe we can get him off with that still on there. We'll see. Let's just continue with the other side. Freeing up these clips. There's that one. That one, that one. And I can tell right now because I see this guy here, and this will be the frustrating thing about this and why I said you might want to tape them on. They will have a tendency to work themselves off. So we're still okay here, but we got reattached on the bottom corner. All right. So that side's off, I think fully. Yep. This side has reattached itself. Get that one off and kind of put some pressure on it so it doesn't creep back. Let's see if we can get this guy up here on top to let go. Come on. The good news is this plastic is fairly robust and it won't break on you, is my experience, but it is also very annoying. All right. Let's see if we got where we needed to be. Sure looks like we should be. There we go. Just want to go nice and slow and gentle with it. And what we're hung up on here is that button that I was hoping it wouldn't complain about, but I guess it's going to give us a little bit of grief about. So we are definitely going to have to get that button to let go. Because that button is going to retain the faceplate on. Man, he's on there tight. And of course, trying to get him off, the clip goes back on. All right, there we go. Not the best way to do it, but what's important is that it's not cracked inside. And we can see that it is not cracked. A lot of times these guys will crack. I'll show you the part numbers for these other kind of buttons as well. But now we've got this separated. Finally. So the next thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to separate this circuit board from the faceplate. And it's held in by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 of these small fasteners. So I'm going to get a socket to fit those, and then we'll be able to separate this. All right, that is a 1/8 inch socket. So we'll come over here and we'll remove all of these guys with the 1/8 socket. There's one. There's two. There's three. 4. 5. 6. 7. And 8. All the way over here in the corner. Okay, we'll put these screws aside so they don't end up flying off where we can't find them. And now this little board just lifts up. You can just sit it right down here. And now we've got the faceplate where we can get access to these buttons. Pull this back a little bit. All right. So the first piece we're going to take off, there's a little light bar that traps light, shines it up where the CD is, and this is going to be a little different if you have the cassette version. This is the CD version, so it's very similar but not identical. And then this kind of white type plastic, we got to get this out of here in order to get access to the buttons. You see right now the buttons are right here, and all that's holding them on here is this. And what normally happens is, I don't know if you can see over here, you pull this back, the buttons push through and they make contact with these various micro switches. Right? And while you got this apart, it could also be a good chance to replace any of the bulbs that are burned out for the illumination. I'll show you that part number, or what you can use as a suitable part number rather, for that as well. All right, so let's get this guy out of here without everything exploding. There's some little pegs that this sits on, and we've just got to get it worked off of them. So there's one of them here. There's a little retainer over here, right there. Whoops, you guys can't even see. Right there, right? So I'll put it back in there. There's a little clip. Just push this guy open, and then pull him off of that little retainer right there. Come on out of there, you. Be stubborn. There he goes. All right. And then there's going to be another one right over here on this side. So again, with our little guitar pick kind of tool to prevent this thing from reattaching, slide that in like that. And then we'll come over here on this one, right there. See if I can get a longer tool so you guys can see. And it's going to work that guy up and out. Right? And so now with this out of the way, now we can see the blue film that illuminates the buttons. So right here's the buttons, right? And we can just push up and replace them one at a time. So let's just go ahead and lift up that film very carefully. There's another light bar right here for illumination. Right here. And take that out for a moment and set it right there. And then we're just going to take this backlighting film, which the color will vary depending on whether you've got a Chevrolet or a Pontiac. On the Chevrolets, though, it's blue. We'll set that over here. And then we've got this gasket. And we're just going to work the gasket off without tearing up anything. And there we go. We'll set that right there. And now we have access to the buttons. So now we're ready to do the repair. So what are we going to do the repair? Well, there's two things you can do. Whenever I'm at the salvage yard and I see a radio that's in cherry condition, I usually pull the buttons off of it. So I've got a bunch of bags of used genuine GM buttons here. And you can also get an aftermarket set from Dorman. 76821 is their part number. And again, they show you the picture of the cassette type radio and the CD type radio that we're talking about here. This is only for GM. And then this can be good for several different models as well. Some of the models have different writing for the cassette option. And so you got to be careful when you're looking at these. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. You got to be careful when you're looking at these to see, does it have the same words that match your radio's commands? Right? So without spilling everything, we're going to try to take out the number 5 because it's worn, and it's just a 5 with no writing. Number 6, and it says forward on it. And the number 4, and it looks like it says reverse. And I'm going to see if I have an original of those. I might, or I might not. Put these up here so I remember what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a 5, a 6, and a 4. And I do not have, well, I do. I have a 5. So I'll grab my original 5 right there, so it's not worn at all. Put that in there. Let's see if I have a 6 and a 4 in this other package. Got a 3, got a 2, got a 1. These tend to be the most worn buttons, so that's probably why I don't have any. Got a 1, I got a 3, and I got a 2. So nope. So that's why I picked up this kit here. So we're going to open this guy up. And we're going to fetch out the one we need from here. So there's our 4 that says reverse. And where's our 5? Or 6 rather. There's our 6 that says forward. The other thing you're going to notice on these, I don't know if it's coming out okay on the film, but the color varies. So GM radios varied anywhere from a graphite to a dark gray to even almost black. But the aftermarket ones are going to be straight up black. And so if you end up just replacing some of them, there's a possibility that the colors won't match anymore. I'm going to go ahead and pop in the ones we're replacing here, put our illumination piece back in, just so I can hold these buttons in and flip it around. We're going to end up tasting the 2 and the 3 as well, but we're just checking the 4, the 5, and the 6 for a color match. And they look okay, so I think we're fine. Actually, one of our other illumination pieces fell out that sits right over here. This guy sits right over here. Just in case you had yours fall out and you don't know where it goes. All right, so let's go ahead and do the others so that we can then reverse everything and put it back together again. So we took out the gasket and the illumination piece again. And now we're going to go ahead and do the number 2 RDM key. So again, first I'll see if I got an original, and I do. So there's my number 2 RDM. And then I needed a number 3 that says next. So let's see if I have a 3 that says next. Not here. And yes, I have one here. So, you can tell I prefer to use the originals, even if they're used, over the new ones, just because I think they're going to get better. Made in the USA from 30 years ago is still going to be better than made in China from yesterday. All right. Now I think we've got all of these replaced. So let's put this back in one more time. Let's put this back in one more time. Let's flip it over again, and let's just verify. Great. So all of our buttons are nice and new looking down there. Now we've got some other buttons that are worn, like our seek button. And so taking a look, it looks like that's the last one we need to swap out. I missed that before, but no harm done. Let's go ahead and swap out the seek button. See if we've got one of those. And I do have one of those. Okay, and there's our new seek button. All right, so now we're done. Are we? Nope, we're not quite done. So now what we're going to do is we're going to get some canned air, like you use to dust off a keyboard, and we're going to blow all the dust out of here. It's a chance to get the dust that may be sitting behind the screen of the clock and that sort of thing while you have everything open. So let me get that, and then we'll start reassembling. All right, so these keys can go flying. So don't go with too much air. Just want enough to blow off anything that's loose. And then we can just wipe off the illumination if it has any dust on it, or fingerprints. Backlighting, I guess, is probably a better term for this. And then we can go grab our light bar, put it back down here. Let's get these old keys out of here. And now we are ready to put our little white piece back in. Snap him into position. Okay, make sure it snaps on both sides. And then we'll put our light bar back for the CD. Now you won't have this on a cassette. You'll have something similar though. All right, and at that point we're almost ready to put it back together. I'm going to go ahead and wipe in the inside screen where the clock is, just in case there's anything there. Okay. And now we're going to reassemble. We're going to line up the screw holes. And we're going to make sure our tuning knob fits through on this one side. Okay. Let's pull you guys out a little bit so you can see everything I'm doing here. And now we're going to reinstall our small 1/8 inch screws. These are going into plastic, so you don't want to use too much force. There's no specified torque value because technically you're not supposed to be in here, right? GM's approach would have been, get a new radio. I'm going to start these by hand, and then we'll run them down with the driver. Last one, number 8. being difficult for some reason. Not sure. Let's go ahead and try to get some of these others started. All right, we got 7 of them back in. Everything is seated okay. Not sure why number 8 is not cooperating. Ah, it's because that's not number 8. My bad. He goes that back here. My bad on that one. Okay. So now we've got everybody tightened down. I just want to make sure that everything's straight, nothing's crooked. Okay, looks fine. So now we've got these 4 buttons down here for the balance and fade. We want to make sure we get those lined up to go through these holes so they don't get damaged. If you got problems with them going in, go nice and easy so you don't damage anything. And then just snap the faceplate back on. Just like that. Okay, then we're going to take our washer and our nut and get this guy back where he belongs. Just snug. You don't want to over tighten him. And then this button is going to go, it's got a notch in it. Let's see if we can make it a little bigger here. He's got a little notch at the top. And there's a groove on the shaft for him to go into. This is to automatically adjust the volume. And then the power knob itself also is keyed. You see that? It's like a half moon shape. And this guy, it looks like he's cracked, but I've got him under a magnifying glass, and I think it's just a kind of a mark on the plastic, so I think he's okay. But I will show you what the part numbers are for these. And then here's our tuning knob, very similarly. So what you got inside of the plastic molding, you can see sitting inside there is a metal retaining clip. And that's what actually holds it onto the shaft. This one turned out to be very resilient. He's all back on. And so now we've just got these 2 screws that we took off in the beginning. Here and here that were 3/16. And once we tighten this guys down, we're ready to reinstall this radio back in the vehicle and make sure everything still works. Now let me show you the part numbers for some of these other buttons in the front. All right, so I said I would show you, we went over how to replace these buttons. And by the way, you can see this one that I grabbed here. you can see it's a lighter kind of color, right? So you can see that it's lighter color than the ones next to it. That's one of the things you got to watch out for depending on the year of the vehicle you grab the button off of. All right, so this button and these 4 buttons. What if you need these guys replaced? Okay, well, these 4 little ones, they are available from GM, not aftermarket. And I believe I've got one up here somewhere. Just give me a moment. Okay, I do not. I thought I had some extras of this, but apparently I don't. So I will have to put those in the video description to show you what those are. And they are each available for individual ordering. That much I know, but I thought I had one up here, but I don't. So let me go ahead and get back to putting this in the vehicle so we can test it, and I'll list those items in the description. All right, guys, we've got the radio reinstalled. I decided I'd show you what to do when you get a theft lock. So you've got the lock here, and then if we zoom in, you can see we've got the time set down here. If you take the minute button and you hit it, it's going to go to zeros. And what you do is you enter the first 2 digits rather of your secret code. So you guys don't come here and steal my radio now. And then go do the same thing for the second one. And then when you enter the secret code, get up here, it's a really high number. Can you guys guess the code? Whoops. Jesus, we went too far. Damn it. We wanted to stop on 98 for the code here. All the way back around. This is what you'll really have to do if you do make that mistake. So when you start getting close, go slower. All right, now we've got the right number. Then we hit AM/FM. And it says SEC, which should be that it liked the code. So we should be able to turn the radio on. Okay? All right, so I'm going to turn the volume down so we don't get any kind of problem with copyright. We're going to make sure our seek works, our tuning, and we're going to make sure that our presets are working. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and seek. Everything's working. So good repair, all done. Again, I'll put the part numbers in the description for both the buttons that I showed you from Dorman, as well as the buttons from GM that we didn't replace that are available here, here, and these 4 little guys here. If you got questions or comments, leave them below, and I'll try to help. If this helped you get your radio looking nice, right now I'm going to go in here and get some soap and water, damp towel. Don't want to get anything wet into the circuit board, but we're going to try to clean up some of these buttons with some of the dirt and grime that's on them before we finally call it done. But go ahead and leave those below. I'll try to help. And if you found this useful, hit that like button. I really appreciate it. And as always, thanks for watching.